Hello, everyone. Just wanting to go over NHL 22, my wish list at least, for the upcoming game that's coming out that we know that's on PS5, or it should be on PS5, the new Xbox, and then it'll be on the old gens as well. Overall, NHL over the years, it's become a dying game, pretty much. As you see over time, like Shell and all that, number of players drops drastically throughout. You don't put as much time into the game because it's just not enjoyable anymore. It's not a hockey game that actually resembles real life hockey. It's that arcadey style that just it doesn't give you the enjoyment of actually playing a hockey game that gives you that feel that you are in a hockey game. Overall, this is due to many reasons. The biggest one to start off is NHL 22. They need to redo the gameplay completely. To start off, the old engine, I forget which one it is, but it's just not up to times anymore. As you see, very wonky animations. It's not a fluid game. It leads to a lot of issues where even the engine that I'm going to say that should be introduced, I don't believe is actually I feel like it's too far ahead or too far behind to where like NHL should actually introduce a new game or new engine. To start off, my first thing would be to, if not incorporate a Frostbite engine, incorporate something that is either newer, as more diverse, more creative kind of, and that actually brings you the feel of like you're playing an actual hockey game and not just some arcadey game that's ridiculously boring and not entertaining. Um, to do this, you would have to change a lot of the things like throughout the NHL games. We always see the CPU AI is always awful, whether it's picking up pucks out of position. They never play the man on like if it's a 2-on-1, they'll usually skate to the man, never the puck or play the puck, pay the pass. Just things like that where you see goalies. Everyone knows the goalie controls are awful. A lot of the exploited goals are still in the game. They've been there for years, like the backhand, forehand, top shelf. There's other ones like the Datsuk Deke. Behind the net is one. There's another one which is always cross crease one timers. And then there's other ones that people don't really use, but like if you're coming down from one side, if you're a righty and you're coming down left handed, skating backwards, and then you rotate, the goalie will never move into position correctly at the right time, so you'll always be able to score on it. Which they got to fix that. EA has been they put out their top plays and it does always the exact same things. It is exploitation of the terrible CPU AI and exploitation of just goals that have been in the game for years. It is not enjoyable. NHL is no longer a competition game to see who's better. It's just to see who could exploit the game better. Um, Another thing that they have to introduce is, as we see in Madden Next Gen, they're implementing a kind of home field advantage thing. In NHL, it does not feel like that. It doesn't feel like that in games. It doesn't feel like that in the playoffs. The crowd noise and all that, and the crowd chants and stuff just aren't there. They'll cheer for whatever. You see them like I've played many games where like I'd be down in a game, or the other team would be down, and I'd be at their home, and you would just see their fans like cheering and stuff, and it's like, but you're losing. Like, why are you doing that? You don't have them cheer. You don't even have them really celebrate on if they win the Stanley Cup or a playoff series. One thing that I think they should have, but I don't know if they have it, is they might have it now that I think about it, but I'm not sure. Is like whenever you finish a playoff series, they should have the handshakes between each teams. Um, Another thing they got to do is they got to remove James Cybalski, I think his name is. He's the one commentator who constantly screams. All he does is scream. It's The past two NHLs I have immediately muted as soon as I got them. I can't play with him there. He's just too. It'll be like a pass, and he's like, "Oh, they passed it. It's." He doesn't add excitement. He actually makes the game and makes the feel of a hockey game worse for you. They need to completely remove him and redo their commentary. Don't add Snoop Dogg because that was just as bad as well. But you need a team that actually makes you feel like you should be there. Like you're actually watching kind of a hockey game almost. The two I like are, I forget their names now. It's the Washington Capitals commentator. Let me Google his name real quick for you. Yeah, there we go. Broadcast team. Yeah, the one is I can't pronounce his name correctly, but it's Joe Beninati. I would love to hear him in games. You always watch him. He puts excitement and enthusiasm into calling his games, and it just makes it a whole different like feeling of what you're watching. And then the other commentator I would add, or at least bring someone in to be like, would be one of the Penguins. One of the Penguins commentators. I don't remember who exactly, but I think it's Mike Lang or whatever. But he just makes the game feel, whenever you're watching an actual hockey game, they add to it. And James just doesn't. He completely ruins the game for you. Like I said, the past 2 years, I've just had to immediately mute the game because it's not enjoyable hearing him yell over stupid shit. So there's no reason for him to be in the game. At least remove him or make him tone down his unnecessary excitement. As we know, NHL is... I shouldn't say it's a game that unfortunately doesn't get as much investment as it should from EA. So I know overall we're not going to be able to get the best commentary or whatever. But you have to at least make it feel somewhat like a hockey game. In the past couple of years, it just has not. There has been no excitement. It's honestly just been an aggravating game to play. You see Frostbite Engine and all that. Yeah, need to add that. But to actually get into the game modes, play now isn't bad. Playing head-to-head isn't bad. But what I feel like they need to bring back is GM Connected or some form of online franchise. Whether or not it's to play with a whole group of people or just your friends or whatever, it adds excitement to a game, being able to play against your friends and all that in an actual season. Being able to see who like the best GM is out of your friends. Or even doing like a career mode with your friends would be just... It would add a whole different feeling to the game to where it's actually like, oh yeah, like let's all go in on a career mode. You make your positions or whatever. You get drafted to like random teams. You could even get drafted to like the same team. That'd be intense to do. Because you just all have to get on, play your games or whatever. But the fact that they don't have GM Connected makes it stale. Franchise is extremely stale. The ability to add legends and all that is always nice because you get to do different types of franchises and all that, fantasy franchises as you want. Like I always like doing that. I put Wayne Gretzky on the Oilers, Lemieux on Pens and all that. But it'd be nice to also do that with your friends. And in past NHLs, I think the last one was like NHL 15 or 14 that had GM Connected. That was the last time you were able to play online with your friends in a franchise. They need to bring that back. They have to. If you want the best experience for your players, you have to let them have the ability to play against their friends and all that, and the GM connected. It just totally changes the feel of the game. Franchise overall isn't too bad. There's just a couple things that I wish they would change about franchise. One of them is I wish they would allow you to edit attributes for players. Their progression system as players get older. I get players drop as they get older, but it's the same EA problem where like they reach a certain age and they just drop off drastically. And sometimes that's not how it works. Like people, you look at Tom Brady, he's 43, he's still one of the best QBs in the league. Like you look at Ovechkin, still one of the best players in the league. Crosby, still one of the best players in the league. Like, it doesn't happen to the idea that, oh, yeah, you all of a sudden are 30 years old, so now you just suck. You're going to drop off. So I think they should change. I don't know if they have the ability to add a system like this, but they should change up to where players in general, their progression is based off their performance. Now, I get this isn't it would be difficult to implement, but a player shouldn't drop off if they're like 32 just because they're 32. If they're performing well in your franchise, they should still have the ability to have like good attributes. I get they'll slow down and all that because they're older. But like I said, you have like Evgeny Malkin, who I think by the time he's like 36, he's down to like a 79 overall or something, which is just ridiculous. As long as he is producing, he should be actually decent at the game. That'd be the biggest thing that I would change about franchise would be the progression system. Maybe add the ability to, I don't know, do expansion or something during the season or like during an off season. That way, just in case, like last year, I don't remember if you had the ability to add a team, but like Seattle came in. It would have been nice to add Seattle to your franchise or whatever. That way you had the ability to, add that extra team. And on top of that, have to go through protecting players and all that and making sure they don't get picked and all that. Contract-wise isn't bad. Fantasy draft, I do think, is actually pretty good. The only thing I would change is if fantasy draft, if you do one with legends, for whatever reason, the legends stay there practically the whole time. I don't know if it's because people just don't prioritize them or the game doesn't prioritize them. But you could get like Wayne Gretzky in like the 4th round of a fantasy draft, which makes no sense. Overall, franchise isn't the game mode that I think that needs the most improvement. To me, that is Shell. The world of Shell has been awful since they removed the overall system. Like others and myself, whenever they had the overall system, you put time into Shell, whether that was like playing 1,000 games or whatever. Now, realistically, you don't. Every year it's dropped how many games you play. There's no reason to play the game. With everyone being the same overall, it is just completely pointless to play. There's nothing to work for. You feel no sense of achievement because of the fact that you're not working for anything. And on top of that, it removes every fun aspect of the game. There is nothing fun about it. When Shell was at its best, there was an overall system, just like FIFA Pro Clubs. FIFA Pro Clubs, every time that I have, me and my friends start a club, we always put thousands of games in because you have a reason to play. Your player gets better as you play more games. NHL, there's nothing like that. NHL is just simply you go in, you pick whatever play type you want to be. Everybody's the same overall, and it is not enjoyable. And if you have I'm a sniper, the only way you have speed and all that is you have to make your player insanely tiny, Why? I don't know. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It makes no sense on why speed is totally determined by your player's size. Ovi and all that, he's like, what, 6'2", like 215, whatever, 220. He's a big guy. He was fast at one point. I mean, he's older now, so he's slowed down. But still, size should not determine your speed. The same way, like, you're sitting there, goalies, I don't know, their overall system just doesn't make sense because you pick stuff, you add those stupid perks or traits or whatever. They don't even feel like they work to start off. They feel like just a stupid trait. And then you're sitting there and you're pretty much just wasting your time, not enjoying yourself. You're being aggravated because the gameplay is not enjoyable. At no point are you having fun. To me, overall, you have to severely change up Shell. If it's the same, you're just going to... It's a matter of time while the game dies. You might as well just let it die at this point. If you're not going to make changes to Shell, which is one of the major game modes in the game that you could play, you're just losing your fan base. EA constantly does not listen to their fans, which is the worst part. It took them years to fix franchise in Madden, and it was totally relying on RBT starting fix Madden franchise to trend on Twitter. It was just EA does not listen to their fans. They just completely ignore us. They don't appreciate us. They put out a broken game that sucks. And then they wonder why, like, nobody cares. It's just bad comments on, like, their social media pages and stuff. It is a complete waste of time to play the games anymore. It's not enjoyable. Shell also needs to change up their bag system. Their reward system for leveling up in the bags, they are completely pointless. I have a buddy who has like 200 some unopened bags because there's no reason to open them. You don't get anything out of them. What they do need to do in NHL, EA needs to introduce the FIFA coin system to NHL. Shell, you earn coins for playing. Whatever you want to buy in a catalog, you could purchase with the coins. That way you don't have to deal with the stupid bags and getting stuff that you just don't care about. You could just outright buy them with the coins from playing. Another reason that, like, if they would introduce the coin system, it would give you an actual reason to play the game again, because you would be working to earn coins. But NHL and EA doesn't listen to us, so they just put out a broken game that's... You see like 3 people playing, like Nasher plays it and all that, and it's like, oh, here's a play from Nasher, and you just see it's an exploit of the game. It's like, this isn't enjoyable. It's just a complete waste of time and money to put into the game. Another thing that they have to do is, I know EA isn't going to do this, but they have to get away from focusing on Ultimate Teams, or at least separate Ultimate Teams from the actual game itself. If you want to put out an NHL Ultimate Team game, go for it. That way you could focus on Ultimate Team. But the issue is, with it being tied to the game, they focus more on Ultimate Team and completely ignore the gameplay of the actual game, which we see in numerous games. Like Madden for a while was focused on MUT, NHL HUT. FIFA's 50-50 with it. It's just, yeah, the Ultimate Team aspect has ultimately ruined games. I don't even think it's really like I think that is the number one thing that has ruined all sports games is the Ultimate Team, because companies, we'll make money off of this game mode by putting in packs that you could buy. And then they just completely forget about the rest of the game itself. To that extent, though, Ultimate Team it's not necessarily a bad game mode. Yeah, it should be by itself. That way they could focus on that in itself and then have another department focus totally on the game of NHL. But Ultimate Team, if it's still tied in, just don't put as much into it. At least, like, split it like 50-50 if you're going to do Ultimate Team, then put like 50% into Ultimate Team and 50% into the rest of the game modes. It just seems like they go like 95 into Ultimate Team and then 5% into the rest of the game. And then the big one that they have to do, I believe it is going to be on PS5 and the new Xbox. They have to introduce NHL to PC. The reason being for this is Madden's on PC, FIFA's on PC. The game just runs so much better on a PC. I mean, I get it if you don't have a gaming PC, that's awful, but if you do, you should be able to play hockey on it. Luckily, I still have the PS4 and the Xbox One X, so I could still get the new NHL whenever it comes out. But I would like to have it on my PC where I know it's going to run better. I could run it in 60 frames and native 4K. Hopefully, that's another thing they got to add is they got to add the full 4K HDR resolution, which they haven't done, and it makes the game run awful. Like on my 4K TV, I'll be in the penalty box, and it'll just be all fuzzy because the refresh rate isn't fast enough for that. It's just a complete mess of NHL. They have to change so much about it so that we, the consumer, actually enjoy the game anymore. If they don't, NHL is just a dying game. It's a matter of years before they barely have any people that play left, and they'll just cancel it like NBA Live. NBA Live, once 2K came around and focused on 2K, they put out NBA Live pretty much because 2K put out a better product. I'm hoping in the future other gaming companies come out and like we see like an NFL 2K again. We see the NHL 2K series, although I would still give the head-to-head matchup there to EA for hockey. Football, it's no competition. 2K was way better at football, but EA was the standard of hockey games, and now they are no longer that standard. They're just putting out a piss-poor product that's just forced out to make money. Like, they don't listen to fans. They don't listen to those who actually play the game. Their biggest issue is instead of listening to the fans that have been there for 15 some years, they listen to the new fans that say, oh, I can't play the game. It's too challenging. I can't play the game. It's too whatever. And then they dumb it down for everybody else instead of making it an actual feeling hockey experience. Like, it just ruins the game. It's not enjoyable anymore. There's no reason to play it, really, and I hope NHL changes that and EA changes that. Because eventually it's just going to be a dying game. They need to fix that. They need to bring it back because everyone, I mean, I hate to say it, I hate NHL, but I do wish there is a good hockey game out there on the market to play, but there isn't. EA is the only option. They don't listen to fans, and it's not a good experience anymore. Thank you, though, overall. This is my wish list. I hope others make their own to put out their concerns. And overall, I kind of hope that EA actually listens. Thank you.